The latest Newspoll out today shows promising signs for the coalition. They're pulling ahead of Labor in key battleground states, Queensland and in New South Wales. And the coalition now enjoys majority support among male voters. James Morrow, first to you. Labor's lost significant support among 18 to 34-year-olds, with those demographic shifting to the Greens. Now, that was discovered before Fatima Payman left the Labor Party. Is this a worry for Labor, losing that demographic to the Greens?
Well, I think that, combined with everything else we're seeing, James Macpherson, is a huge worry for the Labor Party, because if you take that in combination with everything else that is happening out there in the numbers to Labor, you see a party that is increasingly getting pulled apart by the different poles of loyalty that it has. So on the one hand, Labor has reset itself in the last decade or 2 decades as the party of the big end of town. It is tied closely to corporate Australia now. It is tied closely to the big super funds. It is tied closely to the big unions. It's tied, closely to all those big establishment interests. On the other hand now, it's also being tied closer and closer to the Greens, to other potential minor parties that we're seeing crop up with their own sort of fringe issues out there that are going to be dragging it further and further away from that. And then now we've got this age issue here where the young vote, and especially the female vote, is sliding towards the Green. And the other interesting thing about this, too, is that within those numbers we see the male vote is shifting to the coalition, which is something that we've seen in other countries. So we've got a political divide, we've got an age divide, and we've also got a gender divide. And Labor is now caught between all of these different tugging forces on it. And it's going to be very hard to see how this becomes a mass movement party like it has tried to be in the past.
James Ashby, it seems like the entire state of Queensland has fallen out of love with Labor. I mean, Brisbane has an LNP mayor. David Crisafulli looks likely to become premier in October. And now the coalition's leading the federal polls. What has Labor done to Queensland?
Well, they've quite literally, over the last, close to a decade now, destroyed this state. If it's not the youth crime that is making people live in fear right across towns like mine here in Keppel, right up far north, and now we're seeing people living in fear down in our major cities because these kids are just running riot across the state. But not only that, you've got a state here which is just absolutely covered in red tape because of this state government. We've seen excise the taxes, royalties in our mining sector go through the roof, which has made major corporations abandon this state. We've got ramping in our hospitals, a shortfall of nurses, at least 1,400 nurses short here. Our education department is failing because we cannot attract enough school teachers. It is decaying, and a Bruce Highway that is like a goat track, and more and more of the weeks that I spend up here in North Queensland and Central Queensland, I see the Bruce Highway closed and more deaths every single day. It's not roadworthy anymore. So that's what this Labor state government have done, and that is why voters are turning to people like myself and minor parties like One Nation. So I think we're in for a change when that election comes October 26.